Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Michael on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vaz on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
This one's for you, Dan Mullen.
Hey, buddy. What's going on? Is there any news out there, Mike?
I'm popping one open too, Shane, for old Dan Mullen. May his Gator career rest in peace.
Oh, man, Mike. We saw it coming. But, you're still kind of surprised when you hear the news. I just... one bad season, Mike. Not even a full season. Half a bad season, and you're out, man. You're out in the SEC. There's just a few schools that are like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you could literally lose every game at Vanderbilt. Coach Lee's going to be there next year. We know it. But Florida's, LSU's, Alabama's, you cannot afford to have a terrible season, or you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, and I mean, a year ago, this would have been, you would have sounded like a complete idiot had you said Dan Mullen's going to get fired without, some kind of huge scandal. And even, let's give a shout out to a longtime listener. I think he goes by Liquid Flames. We put out the Twitter poll, will Dan Mullen be fired at the end of the season? I think we put that out at the end of the LSU game. And, the consensus was, man, you guys are stupid for even suggesting this. Because Mullen has been such a good coach up until this season. But, man, I think this just goes to show. The guy just got a contract extension last offseason. Now he's out the door with Georgia looking like a rising potential dynasty there in the East. Florida crumbling at the seams. Man, 12 months ago, never would have seen this coming. About a week or two ago, we were thinking it was inevitable. So, man, that's just life in the SEC. You, for whatever reason, you can't afford to have a down year, and you can't unless your recruiting's going well. You got a star quarterback. We got Anthony Richardson deleting all his Florida stuff off his Twitters, liking all the Lane Kiffin's tweets. I mean, so much drama here. We even got we played it there in the intro, but Eli Drinkowitz with "May the Force be with you." I mean, man, it was just a collection of bad events there in Gainesville, and that's why Dan Mullen's no longer the head coach down there in Florida.
Yeah, it's optics too, Mike. Like you said, a stupid gesture that he made last year with the Darth Vader outfit. It becomes a storyline when you lose, and Coach Eli's doing the same thing. It's just right now is the worst time to have negative press, and they are all over him. So I'm still kind of surprised. I mean, I thought maybe at the end of the year, yes, maybe they'll find something. I did not expect during the season. Of course, I didn't expect them to lose so many games during the SEC either. Hell, here we are. The Florida Gators got one last shot to get into a damn bowl game, Mike.
Yeah, 2-6 in the SEC. I believe I've seen the stat that is the worst Florida record since the SEC went into divisions, and that was back in 1992. It's just incredible. Like you said, Dan Mullen was given the option to stick it out, stay through the Florida State game, made the decision not to do so, thought it'd be a distraction. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know about you, Shane, but I mean, I kind of enjoy Coach O on the sidelines here, firing up the troops and giving it his all. I mean, I guess it is a little bit of a distraction, but I think, for the players, I think he should stick it out. I don't really hold it against Dan Mullen for not doing it, but what are your thoughts on that, Shane? Do you think Dan Mullen should have stayed for the last game and try to get that win over Florida State for these seniors?
Well, yeah, I think part of it, is something that you're going to need later on a resume, that you toughed out adversity and you hung in there, even though things didn't go your way. I think you could spin it that way, but, Coach O's situation is a lot different. Coach O's at his dream job. He'll never land a job as as glorious as the LSU Tigers right now. He knows that. So he's going to live but that's who he is. I mean, you saw him at Tennessee. Hell, he was ready to get out. He's telling recruits not to call. I mean, it was a different program. So I think you could judge it either way, but until you're in Dan Mullen's shoes, Dan's been in the spotlight for multiple weeks. Florida Gators have got a lot of things. They got a lot of fires, man, that need to be put out. And it's not going to get put out by your head coach that got fired sticking around one more week. In fact, it could be a distraction. If anything, this may rally some of the troops that are down there to go out and beat a terrible Florida State team. Because let's not act like this ain't Bobby Bowden's boys. You know what I'm saying? This is a team that they should win, and they still can make a bowl game. So you can get something out of this. But let me ask you, Mike. I am curious at your thoughts. It kind of surprised me that it happened during the season. Usually, when you see that, it's a race to get some, the next guy in. Hey, we're available now. You think there's anything like that? Do you think there's anything in the back working around who possibly could come there? And if you had a dream list, is there anybody who's your first call if you're the AD down there in Florida?
Before I answer that, Shane, let's kick it over to the AD, Scott Stricklin. A couple highlights from his press conference here on Sunday. He said he made the decision Sunday morning. So I don't know if that's true or not, but let's kick it over to Scott Stricklin, who talks about this decision and where the Florida program goes from here.
Hopefully he saw my video on Twitter, and he's like, this is it,
I know you guys saw the news. I met with Coach Mullen shortly before noon today in his office, and we had a conversation. Just told him I felt like we need to go a different direction for the Gators and our football program. And he understood. It was actually a very productive conversation. Gave him the opportunity to coach the game Saturday against FSU. And after some discussion, and he actually took some time to think about it, he made the decision that he thought he would be a bit of a distraction if he was around this week after this news came out, and so he made the decision to step away and not coach the FSU game.
Obviously, this is a destination job. This will be Florida's fourth head coach in 8 years. How does that keep happening?
I have some thoughts. It's interesting. All three of those coaches, the last three, even going back to the one before, actually have had things that they could look to that brought a lot of pride to the university, whether it's Sugar Bowl appearance or BCS Bowls or SEC championship game appearances. The challenge has been we haven't been able to sustain it, and you've got to put really good structure, culture in place in order to sustain at a high level over a long period of time, and that's going forward what we've got to focus on.
Hey Scott, what are the realistic expectations for the job at Florida? I mean, I think I know how the fans feel, but how do you feel about that? What is the realistic expectation for a coach at Florida year after year?
To achieve at a high level for a sustained period of time. We talk about competing for championships and we talk about having a championship experience with integrity, but Florida's a place you have the right to aspire to that. We have incredible resources. We're at a great university. We have an incredibly passionate fan base. We've invested a lot in facilities. One thing that doesn't get talked a lot about, we have incredible alignment among our university, hierarchy, from the board of trustees to Dr. Fox, myself, the University Athletic Association board, Gator Boosters board. And I, you hear, you guys probably see things from other schools where trustees are trying to get involved in the decision-making process and who's really calling the shots. That doesn't happen here at the University of Florida. I describe our board and our administration on campus as they're not like defensive linemen. If the AD is the quarterback trying to make decisions, they're not defensive linemen trying to get at me, trying to force me to make a certain decision. They're like offensive linemen trying to protect me and give me a clean pocket. Hopefully better offensive linemen than you are, Andy. But they're like an offensive lineman trying to give a really clean pocket to let the people they put in the position of authority make decisions. And I think that matters, because I think to be really successful, you have to have that kind of alignment throughout the university. And so you look at that alignment on top of the incredible resources, incredible fan support, the facilities, the new facilities that are coming online, the conference we play in, where we live, a state of 21 million people that's one of the most fertile recruiting grounds in the country. We should have high expectations.
Are the expectations so high at the University of Florida that maybe sometimes they're borderline unrealistic? And is that putting undue pressure on the person having to coach the team?
I don't think so, no.
I mean, looking at Mel Tucker, if that actually is in fact true, I don't know that that's, but I mean, the price tag is going up for these guys as we speak. Does the new TV deal and things like that make it more doable? I mean, because we're talking Dan walking out of the door with what he is and then bringing a new staff in. I mean, how onerous can that get financially for a program?
You know, Edgar, we're gonna put the resources necessary into making the right decision to get the right person and the right structure around that person for us to be successful. And we're very blessed to be in a place that we do have some resources. So we'll I get it. The market is what the market is, and University of Florida is obviously committed to being highly successful in the sport of football.
Yeah, so Shane, they want us, the standard of excellence. They want to be competing for championships, and they want to be competing annually. Mm-hmm. I think at this point, if Scott Stricklin is telling the truth here, and I got no reason to believe he's not. If he made this decision on Sunday, I don't really think there is a list. I think any list you see is just people, throwing darts against the wall. But I'm gonna throw some darts at the wall here for you, brother, because when I hear you want to build a championship, there's a couple names, and not to say that. Now, here's the thing, Shane, because Southern Cal's open, LSU's open, we know that. Now, Virginia Tech, TCU, there's a lot of jobs open, a lot of good jobs. But I certainly think you can make the case Florida is the number one job. I think LSU's right there with it. We had that debate a couple months ago, and I'm just giving the slight edge to Florida because it's in the East, because Miami and Florida State are not that good at the moment. If you get the right coach in there, you have the ability to dominate that state in recruiting. I really do believe that. Going up against Georgia is not going to be easy, and what Kirby Smart's got going there. But I think I'd rather go up against Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, Missouri than A&M, LSU, Arkansas, the Mississippi schools, Alabama, the greatest dynasty of all time. So slight edge to Florida. But how about this name, Shane? I think this guy, potentially a really good fit here, Mario Cristobal, the Oregon coach. And the reason I like him, Shane, we know he's built Oregon into a real solid program there in the Pac-12, but he's got a lot of experience in the state of Florida. He was Florida international coach. He was an assistant at Miami. He was an assistant at Alabama. And the key thing there, Shane, what is the biggest issue with the Florida Gators? And it's recruiting. And Mario Cristobal, I believe last year he had Oregon top 5 recruiting class. That ain't easy. And I think, what he's picked up from Nick Saban, I think if he could apply that to the Florida Gators, he could increase the talent overnight. Now, I don't know him to be an X's and O's guru on either side of the ball, so he's going to have to hire some quality coordinators. But Mario Cristobal is a name that makes a lot of sense. One name that a lot of people are throwing around, Shane, Billy Napier, the Louisiana coach, who LSU I think is somewhat considering. I don't think he's at the top of their list, but another guy that worked for Nick Saban. He's worked for Dabo Swinney. He's kind of combined those programs together. He is more of an X's and O offensive guy, so I think there's some sense of a fit there. And Louisiana, he's got them into, I think they're in the Sun Belt, whatever, but they're annually one of the better teams in the Sun Belt, and he has passed on opportunities at Auburn and South Carolina and a couple others he's passed on. So Billy Napier is one to watch. And then I think the biggest fish out there, Shane, I hate to try to derail one of the biggest games we got here in the week, but How about old Lane Kiffin? I mean, I think that is a guy that just screams Florida Gators. And I know there was a little bit of bad blood when he was Tennessee's coach, but I would think them Gators would they would give him a pass for any Urban Meyer comments he made if he came down to Gainesville. What do you think about that?
I think you're starting to dip into the wish list, Mike. You know, I mean, if we're going that route, I don't. The thing with Lane Kiffin is, yes, I think he would be an excellent hire for the Florida Gators, and they'd be crazy not to call him. But you know, there's got to be some reserve still. You know, just. Is this the final thing? What happens if Nick Saban leaves? Is he going to want to jump on over to Alabama? That's one of the things I think would cross your mind is, would he be coming to Florida because this is where he wants to be? Seems like, you know, he's always looking for the next best thing. USC was his dream job, you know. Right. It's available. He may go back over there. We don't know. But I think Lane Kiffin would be a steal and would be awesome to have if you're a Florida Gator fan. But I don't know. I don't know if he's a perfect fit for them. I mean, if we're going down the wish list, there's one coach that's had success in Florida before, and he currently isn't in the NFL. You know, is there any? Should we rule out the opportunity that Urban Meyer comes over? I mean, if we're going down the bucket list here, would that be a possibility? You think, or I think you got it. I mean, You got to go all in, man. Florida, they are a storied program, man. Steve Spurrier put these guys on the map, and you know, obviously Urban Meyer's had some success, but since then, you know, Muschamp, Jim McElwain, now Dan Mullen. I mean, we're going on 10 years of ups and downs. It's a roller coaster down there. So I think they go all in. I don't think you mess around. I get the Napier talk and stuff like that, but now's the time to put all your chips to the front table and say, okay, this is how serious we are about this program. You can be one of the top funded programs in college football, and yeah, you may find you a little. Maybe Lane Kiffin. I mean, you don't have to pay him near as much, but I don't know. Maybe you do now. Shit, Mike, I have no idea. It's way too early. But I was like you. I'm trying to think. Since it happened not at the end of the season, this gives them a head start to work on someone. And I'm just curious who that is.
Yeah. And, man, Urban Meyer certainly would be interesting, Shane, but I don't know how realistic that is because we got a signing day here in a couple weeks. And the NFL season obviously goes much longer than the signing day. So I don't think you can afford to wait. I mean, you need him to leave his job in the middle of the night like old Bobby Petrino on his motorcycle down there when he left the Atlanta Falcons. So would you hire him if he did? Hell, I think Florida probably would. But I don't know. Urban Meyer seems a little bit unrealistic to me at this point. And another name that a big name that I think is going to excite a lot of people, but I think is truly unrealistic. I don't even really want to mention it till it's legitimate, but the name a lot of people keep mentioning is Bob Stoops, former Oklahoma coach. Mm-hmm. But look at it this way, Shane. This is how I always view it, because anytime there's an SEC job that's open, everybody says Bob Stoops, Bob Stoops, Bob Stoops. How realistic is it that he's going to compete against his brother, particularly not only in the same conference, but in the same division, where if he loses to his brother, I mean, his ass is on the hot seat immediately. And I think if you're Mark Stoops and you've beaten Florida 2 out of 4, and then your brother comes in there and just maybe he reinforces that dominance, now he's putting his brother on the hot seat. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a dynamic that I think has got to be a no-go unless old Mark and Bob hate each other. And to my knowledge, there's no animosity there. So, I mean,
absolutely.
That just makes no sense.
Does Stricklin really want to break a family up? You know, I mean, it's Thanksgiving. Think about it, Mike. You know, we don't want this to be their last dinner together. So I don't know. I mean, this is the plain tracking season, man. This is when you start keeping an eye on some of these big names. There's going to be some Twitter handle that populates tomorrow, and you can follow every flight that comes in and out of Gainesville. And there's going to be a lot of names thrown around. There's a few people like Tomlin that you can go ahead and mark off the list because they ain't leaving. Yeah. You know, but there is a short list that the Gators want, and rightfully so, man. I mean, this is a man. It's in the perfect location, like you said. It's in the East right now, which is all jumbled up, short of Georgia. You know, that's the one you got. Like, I'm sure Lane Kiffin right now would love to get the hell out of the West so he can come over here and play. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of names floating around, and as soon as we hear them, man, we're going to let you guys know. So,
what if we got the wrong Stoops, and it's what if they target Mark Stoops down there at Florida? Could you imagine that?
I can't remember. I saw an article earlier this week talking about, is he the next guy? I mean, you gotta give it to him for what he's been able to do at the University of Kentucky is not short of. I mean, it's night and day.
Right.
It's turned into a football school, Mike, and I can't believe I'm saying that about the Big Blue Nation. So
they were basically Vanderbilt before he got there.
I would take Mark in a heartbeat before I'd take Napier out of Louisiana. I mean, well, get out of here with that nonsense. I'm going to need our beer, Mike. It's going to be one of them podcasts, ain't it?
Well, so, yeah, we do got a bunch of games to break down. We can't spend the whole thing on them Florida Gators because we'll have that thing covered. We got the emergency pod if you missed it, but we'll be all over this as news develops. But last thing, Shane, on it. How great would it be if LSU and Florida are competing for the same coach at the same time? And man, these fan bases think each of their schools is the best, and we'll find out in a damn hurry if there's a candidate out there that turns one of them down for the other. You know what?
I just thought that was funny, man. I was thinking about that as I'm driving home. I was like, man, this is a rivalry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So whoever picks, I guarantee the list that LSU's using is going to be very similar to the list that Florida's using. And there's whichever coach goes to whichever school, that other program is going to absolutely hate that guy. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's just going to make that rivalry a little bit more interesting.